today's webinar. I'm still, I could say, a child diplomat in Brussels, just about 3 weeks old. Arrived on 28th of November, and today is 18th of December. But I'm extremely happy and thankful to Brussels Energy Club for this opportunity and their active engagement with the Bangladesh Embassy and the government of Bangladesh. And Marat visited a year ago. I'm sure other than traffic, you had great experiences and great conversations. And thank you very much. All the executives and advisory board members of Brussels Energy Clubs, my esteemed colleagues at the embassy who have joined, and particularly my senior colleagues and experts, Mr. Maqbool Chaudhry and Mr. Siddique Zobair and Faisal Khan. All have very distinguished and can you hear me?
Yes, yes, really well.
Okay. All have very distinguished and illustrious career in their respective fields, and they worked in the government, in the regulatory commissions, and Faisal Khan is from Summit, which is the largest private sector power giant in Bangladesh. So we have a very rich panel today, and as Marat said, we have a lot to cover, and we are rather looking forward to listening to their presentations, and then I understand there will be an interaction, free-flowing interaction. It's really great that it's under Chatham household, so everybody can speak their mind, what they feel. And I wouldn't say what the expert should say, but what we have seen in last 12 years in Bangladesh since 2009, when Prime Minister Hasina was elected for the second time, and then she had continued her election victory in 2014 and 2018. So this is her fourth term as Prime Minister and third consecutive term. And I clearly remember, many of you may or may not know, that the power situation in Bangladesh in 2008, we were literally struggling to generate even 4,000 megawatt. It was less than that. And you all know today what the situation is and the way we have overcome that. The load shedding, the term, is absolutely unfamiliar to the young kids nowadays. And we remember it, even in the capital city, we had the power cut or load shedding every alternate hour in 2006, 2005, 6, 7, 8. So that is now a thing of the past. Our generation capacity increased significantly. Of course, gas and renewables. These are the topic, and to be precise, the Brussels Energy Club Gas and Renewable Emerging Market Series. This is the second event, I understand, Marat.
Yes, correct.
The first, yes, with a foreign country. So thank you very much. We are also fortunate to be the second country to engage in this series of discussions, and I'm sure it will be an illuminating and enriching discussion, definitely for me, who is not an energy expert at all. Just a couple of words. Gas almost takes care of the 2/3 of our energy sources so far. Renewable, of course, we were very, very ambitious. By 2021, our ambitious target was about 10%, to achieve 10% from renewable sources. That seems a bit of a tall order now, but we are continuing our efforts. I'm sure our experts and expert speakers, in particular the three panelists, would be shedding lights on their respective fields and areas, and from their expertise and experiences, I would definitely be the person who would benefit the most. I thank you once again, Marat, and the Brussels Energy Club for organizing this, and Bangladesh Embassy in Brussels is extremely happy to be a partner, and I welcome all the participants and the panelists in particular, and looking forward to the encouraging and illuminating discussion. Thank you very much.
Ambassador Saleh, thank you very much for those very warm and welcoming words, as well as a little bit of a historical context on, you know, the power cuts and the kind of supply shortages, in a sense, from yesteryear. And I think our distinguished speakers from Bangladesh, who have really, I think, institutional memory and institutional knowledge of all of the things that you just alluded to, but they will discuss at a technical level, I think, well, not too technical, but you know, information level about where we are with these issues today. And I think I'd now like to invite Maqbool Elahi Chowdhury to actually make his presentation. Now, you have Mr. Chowdhury's, of course, CV on the website, but I do just want to say that I find his CV quite unique in the sense that you know, he's actually lived through all of these changes that you're actually talking about, and has the education of a geologist. And I think this is very important for people with the right qualifications to actually talk on these topics, because I myself, let's say my background is a political scientist, international relations expert, but I don't have the concrete knowledge, let's say, of, you know, what's in the ground and what's under the ground and how that impacts on the energy that can actually be produced from these, you know, resources that we have in, you know, in our planet's core bodies. So Mr. Chowdhury, I was really impressed with his, you know, geological sort of background. And then I was also incredibly impressed, not just by his, you know, long and illustrious career in that field, and of course the fact that he's also a member of the Bangladeshi Energy Regulation Commission, so he's now a regulator, but also his affiliations, the societies, the, you know, the international petroleum societies, the geological societies, lifelong membership. So very impressed with his CV, and very pleased now to give him the floor. And if it's okay with you, Mr. Chowdhury, I will now share my screen and bring forward your presentation. Yeah?
Yes, please.
Okay, so let's do that now. Okay, so you should go, everyone can see the presentation, yeah?
Yes, I can see.
Excellent. So welcome,
Excellency Ambassador of Bangladesh to Brussels. My favorite personality from the Ministry of Energy, Mr. Siddique Zobair, with whom we worked for a long time, Mr. Khan, and other participants from the different parts of the world. This is the month of victory of Bangladesh. So I want to show my respect to the people, those who have sacrificed their lives for the liberation of this country. Then I want to thank the organizers of these energy clubs in Brussels for giving me this opportunity to present you on Bangladesh. I'm basically a geologist, and you can say I'm a field geologist, and almost more than 3 years I worked in the field. Then, of course, gradually in the in different part of the business. And I have retired from. I have started my career in Petrobangla in 1975 and retired in 2008 November. And then from 2009 onward until 2019 December, I worked as consultant. And since January this year, I'm working as a member of Bangladesh Energy Regulatory Commission. So let me now start, and I want to introduce my country first. Please, the next slide. You can see the map. Bangladesh is in between, and Bangladesh is surrounded in three sides by India, excepting in the north, little part of the northeast is Myanmar, south is Bay of Bengal, and Bhutan is not far from Bangladesh, only from the northern tip, only 18 kilometers. And then Kathmandu and Nepal is there. Next slide, please. So Bangladesh was become independent in on 26 March 71, but we had to struggle and fight back the occupation Pakistan army for 9 months, and finally on 16 December 1971, at the loss of 3 million people, we have liberated Bangladesh on 16 December 1971. This is land area-wise, this is a very small country, but we have a very big population of 165 million. This country is generally flat, very flat, excepting the eastern part and the northeastern part, and the average elevation is only 39 feet. Bangladesh has a moderate temperature of 25 degrees Celsius average throughout the year, and that's why the temperament the people of this country is also moderate. We do not subscribe any extremism in this country, whether it is religious or something else. We value moderate philosophy also. Our rainfall ranges between 110 to 570. Our transportation, at one time it was basically river line, still it plays the major. Then we have very good road, rail network, and Bangladesh is also connected with the major parts of the world by air, and there are also domestic air services within the country. Next slide, please. The literacy rate of this country, I think fairly good. It is 74% until 2018. Our GDP rate is one of the best in the Southeast Asia. In last 10 years, average is 6.7%. Our present per capita income is 2,064, okay, and per capita energy consumption is equivalent to, I don't see, it's not very big, but due to our very good energy conservation, we are in a good shape. And per capita electric consumption is 320 kilowatt. Accessibility of electricity, we feel proud that due to the dynamic leadership of our present government, and I must say the Prime Minister and the Energy Minister, we have achieved 95% coverage of electricity in households. And here I must say, Siddique Zobair is here. Our renewable sector has also made a commendable service in the extreme rural areas of Bangladesh with the solar home system. Okay, please. Please, next slide, Marat.
Yeah. One sec. Oops. One sec. Let me just do it again. There was just a technical glitch.
Yeah, please. Okay. So the goal of our government and the nation is by 2024 we want to come out of LDC, and you are in the process of coming out. And our second goal is now to reach the level of the developed countries by 2040. And to achieve this coal, we need to ensure our energy security. You know, our father of the nation gave the maximum importance to this sector, energy security. If we recall our memory, in 75 or just after liberation, the US Foreign Secretary used to call us is a bottomless basket. Even in those days, our father of the nation, to ensure security, he bought 5 gas fields from the Shell Oil Company for this country. And still, we are producing some gas out of it. And he has also given his best effort for the petroleum exploration both in onshore and both in offshore by the IOCs. And for the first time in this region, we have our government has introduced PSC and law of sea. Next slide, please. So this next slide is the present use of the energy. Basically, it is gas, which is still giving 27 million tons of oil equivalent. Then comes liquid fuel, then coal. Those are imported basically. And we are also importing electricity from India. And renewable is also playing a good role in Bangladesh, especially for the rural people, extreme rural people, where we could not take our electric grid line. At least the people, they have at least 2 bulbs, 1 fan, and which is enough for the young kids to read their books. And in this respect, our renewable sector, especially a big fighter, Mr. Siddique Zobair, played a great role in expanding this solar home system. And thank you, Mr. Siddique Zobair, for your work. Next slide, please. Bangladesh is one of the least explored petroleum exploration country in this world. Though our resource is 70 TCF with the P50 prospect. Identified prospect is 50 TCF and identified lease comes 220. Though exploration in this area has started in 1910, but unfortunately, we have drilled so far only 94 exploration wells, and out of which 74 onshore and 20 offshore. In Bangladesh right now, basically 3 exploration company is working, is the Chevron Bangladesh, Chris Energy, and ONGC India. And Chevron Bangladesh and Chris Energy, they are producing gas, and their cumulative production is almost 56% of the total production in Bangladesh now. Please, next slide. Our gas network is good. Our discovery, total discovered gas field is 25, out of which 25 in Bangladesh. And but incidentally, all the gas fields are in the eastern part of the country. In the west, we don't have any discovery. Our gas network, we have, we'll see in the other slide, we have also very good gas network. Please go to the next slide. So far we have discovered 28 TCF of gas, but out of which we have already produced about 18 TCF, only 10 TCF remaining. And we are, at one time, people used to think that we are floating on gas, and at one time, Unocal and their friends, they have pushed the Bangladesh to export gas to the neighboring countries, World Bank and Asian Development Bank. They have withdrawn their support for in the gas in the petroleum sector of energy sector of Bangladesh, as we have not agreed to export gas in 2000 during 2000, and everybody was thinking that we are floating on gas, and whatever the gas we have, we don't have money to purchase it. We weren't able to purchase. That's why this IOCs has pressed like that. But the present situation, we became the importer of gas. Since 2018, we are importing LNG. We are importing about right at this moment about 600 million cubic feet of LNG per day, and maybe within 2 years we have to import about 1,000 mmcfd, or you can say other way, you can say 1 billion. Right at this moment, our demand is about 4 BCF, but we are supplying only 3.1 BCF. Please go to the next slide. This is the gas network we have. I wanted to show this gas network because in many countries of the world, the exploration company, after discovering, they have to wait for the market to sell the gas. But in Bangladesh, if somebody discovers a gas field today, basically they don't have to wait for the market. They don't have to bargain for the price of the gas, because our gas price for the onshore and offshore, it is set. For onshore, we pay $4 per 1,000 cubic feet. Compared to the USA, they are selling onshore gas 1.7 to 2.4 in last 5-6 years, where we say we give $4, and for offshore $5 to $6 depending on the water depth. And we have an excellent on the onshore, we have excellent gas network. If anybody likes, they can bring the gas maximum with the 50 kilometer hookup line with the transmission line. Please, next slide, please. So I have already mentioned about the gas price for the onshore and for the offshore is $5 to $6 depending on the water depth. Please, next slide. The most important thing, the market is assured. Whatever the gas you discover and whatever the oil you discover, we import about 5 million tons of oil. Next slide, please.
Yep, 1 second.
Please. So here basically I wanted to show if some IOC wants to come here, we would like to see that they have at least 10,000 barrels of oil equivalent production in last 3 years. This is basically for the IOC's qualification. Maybe government may change in the coming days. Okay, please. Since we don't have you have seen the map of the gas fields of Bangladesh. In the western part, we don't have any gas. But incidentally, the most important issue, we know in the eastern part, we don't know which is the source of the gas fields and gas discovered in Bangladesh. For sure, there are 2-3 hypotheses. But for the western part, we know for sure which are the source rocks. But unfortunately, we could not discover yet the any gas field. That's why in the National Oil Policy, Energy Policy of 1995, Mr. Siddique Zobair is here. He's a witness and he was a co-worker of this. We have declared 25 the higher gas price for the western part as well as the shallow offshore gas equivalent in those days. And similarly, we have a good potentiality of gas, both gas and oil, below there is a overpressure or abnormal pressure zone. Below that those zone, if somebody can discover any oil and gas in those zone, they can also uh, ask for a higher price like the western part of the country. Please, next slide. So beside the LNG, we are also importing right now about 1 million tons of LPG, and it is becoming popular day by day. And government is also trying to bring its price to the level, and now it is being used by the middle class people and upper middle class, and government has a target to bring it to the affordable level of the lower middle class. Under that circumstances, the consumption of LPG would be 2 million tons per year by 2025, and by 2030 maybe 3 million tons or more. So if we cannot discover any gas either in onshore or offshore, we have to import LNG and LPG in the coming days at the cost of not only foreign currency and risking the energy security risk. I must stress the which our father of nation has stressed. He wanted to ensure the energy security of the country, and that's why he, though the ability of the country in those days was not that much, he gave the best effort for the exploration of oil and gas in Bangladesh, oil, gas, and coal. So, risking the energy security, we have to import all this. And unfortunately, our reserve is, as I mentioned, almost at the beginning, that we had about 28 TCF of gas. We have already produced about 20 TCF, and we have 18 TCF. We have only 10 TCF, and it is depleting very fast. And as a result, our import of LNG and the LPG becoming more. Please, next slide. The foreign oil companies or the IOCs, they get a good incentive in Bangladesh for not only foreign oil companies, any foreign investors in Bangladesh, they are allowed repatriation of investment and the profit. The IOCs are allowed duty-free import of all goods and equipments required for exploration, except liquor and tobacco. Okay, let's go. And Bangladesh Oil, Gas and Mineral Corporation, shortly Petrobangla, they assure purchase of all produced gas and the oil by the IOC. For the gas, it is $4 US, as I have mentioned earlier. So market is assured here. No one has to wait for the market, and not only for gas price, and they also take the responsibility for transmitting this gas to the distribution company with the nominal or the marginal transmission cost. Please. Generally, for drilling one exploration well in Bangladesh above the normal pressure zone is 15 to 18 million US dollar, and for my estimate, for drilling below the abnormal pressure zone, it may cost 20-25 million. But if these IOCs, they engage the local experts along with their expatriate experts, the cost of the exploration will reduce 15 to 20%. And when I was the managing director of BAPEX, I have done a 2D seismic data acquisition. I gave a 2D seismic acquisition service to Chevron Oil Company with excellent data quality and 35% less than the international seismic companies. Please. And these IOCs, they have to follow we have a standard production sharing contract, model production sharing contract. They can bid at the time of the bidding, or sometimes, especially in G2G situation, they can offer unsolicited offer and the signed contract. Others fiscal incentive is the tax exemption and interest paid to the foreign loans capital gain for transfer of share and incentives, avoidance of the double taxation for the foreign investors, and remittance and repatriation of the savings of the expatriate workers to their home. And there's no restriction of issuance of work permits for the expatriate workers in Bangladesh for the petroleum exploration and production. Please. So I have already mentioned all the gas fields are located in the eastern part. The gas fields, the present discovery is between 800 to 3,500 meters below depth. But for new discovery, maybe we have to drill up to 4,000 to 5,000 meters. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Yep, just one sec. Just one sec.
So, any PSC contractors in Bangladesh, normally Bangladesh Petroleum Exploration and Production Company is the loan company under this government in Bangladesh Exploration Company. So they receive 10% carried interest. But for the at the time of development, if there is any discovery, they pay the full money for the 10% partnership. But if the oil companies they request, the BRECs can buy more equity share on payment, and as well as they can also look for the private parties in Bangladesh, and I hope the government should give priority to those IOCs who will have the private partner in Bangladesh. In this regard, I want to simply remind our friends, 20 years, 2 decades back, there is not a single company which to produce power in Bangladesh. As the government has given incentive to those private companies, now they are the major power producer in Bangladesh. We have now dozens of Bangladeshi power producer. Similarly, if the proper incentive is given, we'll have petroleum exploration companies in Bangladesh. Please, next slide, please. I have already mentioned for foreign investors in Bangladesh allowed repatriation of investment and the profit and other fiscal incentives already mentioned. Let's move to the next slide.
Yep, sorry, just
no problem. No problem.
Yep.
Is my voice clear?
It's very clear. It's sometimes the slides get stuck and I need to stop share and get back into it, but go ahead, please.
Oh, this already I've discussed this slide. I have also discussed about it. So thank you very much. And the views I have expressed here, it is my personal, it is not the Bangladesh Energy Regulatory Commission's views. And I must thank all of you for your patient hearing. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask me directly. I have my email, and you can also ask me through Mr. Marat, who will pass me your question. I will try. I don't commit that I will be able to give you answer of all the question, but I can give you commitment. I'll try my best to answer you. Thank you very much once again.
Mahbub Chowdhury, thank you very much for that really very comprehensive overview, I think, to really look at the gas sector and the developments of the gas sector in Bangladesh. And we see, of course, that there are many, many questions, depletion of, domestic indigenous reserves, this kind of shortfall of supply and the tendency of actually moving towards imported gas supplies, particularly through, the form of LNG. And also, the fact that you've identified the role of the IOCs and some of the international companies, their existing activity. And I think a very, very important and interesting question here is the mix of incentives with the market opportunities really an attractive combination? Because like you said in the early part of your presentation, that Bangladesh is one of the most underexplored or least explored, countries in the world from that upstream perspective. And we have a lot of people in the audience that are familiar with exploration and upstream issues. So just before we move to the next presentation, also on gas, but a much more in detail discussion of LNG, would anyone like to come in and ask any questions or provide some feedback on Mahbub Chowdhury's excellent overview? Please, the floor is open if people would like to come in, either press the raise hand button, or if you want to do the conventional 19th century approach, and raise the hand, also welcome. All I can hear is the traffic in the background.
Only one thing I want to assure our expatriate friends. Reason of being one of the least export country in the world, Bangladesh, is one of the major reasons is, in my experience, what I have noticed, that the IOCs, they could not feel that we can consume so much of energy, we can develop so fast, nor we can pay money for the gas we'll be buying. If you ask Chevron and at time also Shell also produced gas here, you can ask those companies. They are for the last 20 years or more, they are selling gas in Bangladesh. Was there any defalcation scenario from Bangladeshi part or not? They will say no. We may be poorer compared to many other parts of the world, but we are very, very good pay master. We never kept any debt. We don't have any debt to any foreign companies. This message I want to give. So be sure, if you discover something, if we commit to buy something, we'll pay to you on time. And this is the history we have made. So you don't have to worry if you discover either oil or gas. And if you can discover something enormous, don't forget we have our neighbor, 3 neighbors, they are also energy hungry. We can also export to them. It will not take much effort. You don't have to, from Turkmenistan to crossing the Karakoram Hill and then to reach Pakistan, and from there to India. You don't have to do so much of hurdles. If we are surplus someday in Bangladesh with the gas and the oil, it is the flat land and we can easily reach to India and the extreme western part of India, Nepal, Bhutan. So I want to assure our IOCs that if you discover some gas, initially we'll buy all those and with very good price. We have not yet failed to make any payment, and in coming days also will not. Please, Mr. Khan.
That's a great message, Mahbub, because we do have in the audience here our friends from the Italian major ENI, of course. I see Fabio Marchetti, although he's in Generali Insurance now in Milan, but Fabio was, of course, the head of ENI Brussels representation for a long time, and there was another couple of colleagues. So that's a good message, I think, because companies like ENI are active in, or have been active in Pakistan and in the region more broadly. But I see a question here from Jan Heisman, advisory board member of Brussels Energy Club, and also, of course, governing board member of the European Federation of Energy Traders. 120 companies that are involved in gas and electricity trading around Europe. So Jan, please, why don't you come in?
Thank you, Marat. I was just wondering, listening to this interesting presentation, how far does are you planning to have a market mechanism in Bangladesh?
For gas, no problem. For both in Bangladesh, for both gas and electricity. For electricity, we have a single buyer, which is known as Bangladesh Electricity Board, BPDB. They buy whoever maybe they produce electricity, they buy it, and then they distribute it through the distribution companies. Because in Bangladesh we give cross subsidy. This is a philosophy of the government to help the poorer section of the people. Similarly, for gas, anybody produces gas, the Petrobangla, on behalf of the government, they buy the gas. And then we have the different rate for industry. For producing electricity, we have one rate. For fertilizer, one rate. These are the lowest rate we give. Then we have for industry, we have rate. For other purposes, we have the different rates. So we have very good gas transmission network. So Petrobangla, through its subsidiary transmission and the distribution network, they sell these gases to the different customers. In Bangladesh, the highest payment is given by the transport sector. Then this household, and gradually it reduces to industry and others. And the lowest payer is electricity, because our government want to had a program to connect the country with the electricity 100%. So this is the third sector. And for Lifeline, we sell for the poor people a very minimum rate.
Just, are there any other questions? Would anyone else like to come in? I have one little question, but
am I clear with the transfer with the question made by my friend?
Jan, was that okay as a response?
Yeah, I mean, I understand now that the single buyer model is obviously popular in some countries for electricity, but I was wondering, you have obviously two segments of the markets. Typically, residing next to each other. One is the retail market, which in reality are the households, the residential markets, which are very often regulated. And then there is like a free market, which serves mostly the needs of the industry that procure gas. Now we're talking gas markets, but the same is true also for electricity, that basically allow companies to participate in this market by taking a position in the market. And I was just wondering whether any of that is planned in your country. So in other words, as far as gas is concerned, it's a gas hub discussion.
Marketing
just wondering, gas hub.
The IOC
gas
doesn't have to audit. Government has taken up that responsibility. They will buy and they will transmit and they will distribute the gas to the customer. If the oil companies, they wish to connect someone in the neighboring area with their gas supply, they can, no problem. But they don't have to take this hassle, because the government has its own mechanism. In the last 40, 50 years, this mechanism never failed. It worked very well. You are getting the IOCs are getting price at the wellhead setting without any hassle. Even they didn't have to take the trouble of transmitting gas from the gas fields to the customer area.
It's an interesting discussion, though, because we're still talking about and correct me, Mahbub, if I'm wrong, but we're still talking about a vertically integrated gas market model in Bangladesh. You know, whereas in kind of Europe, obviously North America, Faisal is about to present from a US location, but I mean, the market's long deregulated. So, you know, you've got kind of unbundling of the major assets, the upstream, the midstream, the downstream, whereas I believe your strength, in a sense, your fidelity of payments, you know, which you messaged very strongly, is in a sense also maybe, I suspect Jan is thinking, because he's involved with all these electricity traders who are quite used to this liberalized market. You know, that strength is also kind of an obstacle to some form of liberalization and market reform, because if you have the government purchaser, you know, as a guaranteed and able to meet its obligations, then that itself becomes an obstacle to reform. And reform may not be the objective, by the way. I mean, in Europe, we're crazy about competition. And, you know, in Australia, we're crazy about competition, and US, and that's fine. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's about the consumer. It's about, you know, energy security. We talk about it in political terms, but energy security, you've got to look at it more in household or industrial terms. Okay. So the customer has to be securitized, you know, as the end user of the fuel. So if in Bangladesh, you know, the customer is securitized as the end user of the fuel, then that model tends to work. The only question is about, and probably we're going to get into this discussion with Faisal and Siddique Zobair as well, is about one, you know, sufficient capacity. Okay, so security of supply is about sufficient capacity. And the ambassador sort of mentioned that, you know, the power shortages are a thing of the past, and we also saw 95, 99% in your slide. And then the other thing is also international obligations. Yeah. So, you know, you've got climate, you've got energy transition commitments, and, you know, these are now not something to be laughed at. These, and we're going to get into that as well, but these are something, you know, like if you join the Inter Charter Treaty, that's also going to be an international obligation, although that's more on the kind of investment protection side. But these are the two issues. So I don't know to what extent, you know, market reform and liberalization is a topic of debate in Bangladesh. I know it is in Pakistan, although I'm not sure to what degree it's been let's say, implemented in Pakistan. We have Ahmed Shariah here from Punjab State Energy Company in Lahore. Yeah, I'm not sure to what extent it is a discussion in Bangladesh, the market reform, and whether it needs to be, that's also another issue. So that's just a comment from me.
Marit, may I add one point? Why do you want to liberalize? Because
Yeah,
you want to, let me finish.
Please.
Because you want to compete. Here you don't have to compete in Bangladesh. You have a customer who is assuring you to buy the products you will be producing. Not only he will buy, he will give, he has offered you a price which is one of the best price in the world. So you don't have to worry for other issues. The most important, you'll be producing something, you want to sell it at a good price. And that should be the issue of discussion. Yes, whether we have that capability to purchase and we have the capability to pay you the money on time as per contract. This issue should be taken into consideration. And on this issue, I can guarantee you, not only a guarantee, you ask the Chevron, you ask Chris Energy, you ask Shell, don't believe us, whether you were paid on time, your payment in Bangladesh or not. And all of them will say, yes, this is not such a rich country, but they paid our dues on time. Thank you.
No, that's well noted, Makbul, that comment. And like I said, it's whether we need to, not we as in here, but we need to have a discussion about reform or not. I'm not convinced that we do. And in fact, probably Gazprom would find your words music to their ears, you know, because they also entertain the vertical model. You know, but in Europe, we are quite crazy about competition. Anyway, I'll pause on that note. And I think let's move on to Faisal Khan, you know, who I think is going to expand this discussion into kind of the more global, you know, LNG sort of market. Faisal is really, I look at you and I see the vanguard of the private sector, you know, the dynamic, fast moving, you know, LNG is a very fast moving environment, you know, this transatlantic, Indian, Pacific sort of market into Australia. So, you know, this is really the big topic now, really, the growth sector in global gas. And I think Faisal will briefly introduce his company, but it's certainly a, you know, a major player in this region, you know, in LNG and, you know, in the power sector as a kind of, you know, further product of the gas. And I think important to note about Faisal, he's very active in the not just the sort of the pure dynamics of the corporate world, but also the associations, you know, the associations which underpin the dialogue between, you know, the different business entities, the business entities and the governments, and, you know, the different important partners of Bangladesh, like, you know, China and Chinese companies. And, you know, he's involved with the Chamber of Commerce at that level, as well as, you know, the various associations representing public companies. So Faisal, it's a fantastic pleasure, really great pleasure to have you here. I see the sun is rising behind you. They used to say the sun rises in the east, but for us it looks like the sun rises in the west. Yeah. But so Faisal, I'm going to turn over to you now. Just a technical question: would you like me to do your slides, or should I give you?
I can do it if you can give me.
Okay, I'll give you hosting rights then. So I'm going to do that right now, as long as you give it back to me at the end.
Yeah.
Okay, so Faisal Khan. Okay, you should have it now. Excellent. There you go.
Good?
Yes, perfect, Faisal. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Greetings, Excellency Saleh, Honorable Member from the Bangladesh Energy Regulatory Commission, on our distinguished guests. Good morning from the United States. Thank you for inviting me to speak at the Brussels Energy Club about the gas sector of Bangladesh. Thank you, Dr. Marat. Bangladesh is on the verge of middle income status, and with economic growth accelerating, long-term energy security has taken center stage. The decline in the price of LNG over the years have provided Bangladesh with a unique opportunity to achieve energy security and enable quick, relatively clean, affordable, and sustainable power generation. A few years ago, the government of Bangladesh took a momentous decision to invest in LNG import and its associated infrastructure. It opened up a new horizon in the energy landscape of Bangladesh. The result has been laudable. 2 long-term LNG supply contracts with Qatar Gas and Oman Trading at internationally competitive rates, and 2 FSRUs that add 1,000 mmcfd of regasified LNG to the national grid. In order to maintain Bangladesh's growth trajectory, and considering the gestation period of developing new terminals, action needs to be taken now to ensure availability of natural gas to meet the ever-growing demand. Let me go ahead into my presentation now. I'll give a short overview of our company Summit and our experience in Bangladesh, a little update on the current gas market and future prospects in Bangladesh, and finally some LNG related projects I'm currently working on. Summit is one of the largest conglomerates and the leading power and energy company of Bangladesh. The business is divided into Summit Power International, which holds the power and FSRU assets, and Summit Holdings, which operates in various sectors. Summit Power International consists of Summit Corporation that has 2.5 gigawatts of power generating assets, and Summit LNG, which is an FSRU capable of regasifying 500 mmcfd of LNG. Summit Holdings is a parent company of various other businesses, from oil and shipping, Summit Oil and Shipping. It's an oil trading wing that supplies fuel to power plants in Bangladesh. Summit Communications, it's a leading service provider to the telecom and IT industries in Bangladesh. We have around 50,000 kilometers optical fiber network throughout the country, and also have a tower license providing tower lease to the mobile phone companies. Then we have a port company, Summit Alliance Ports, and that company handles 10% of Bangladesh's traded cargo. We have bonded warehouses and storage facilities around the main seaports, and also operate river terminals in Bangladesh and India. Summit Assets is our real estate development wing. We are developing the first high-tech industrial park in Bangladesh, and we are also constructing a 5-star hotel complex with a shopping mall near Dhaka Airport. But now let me elaborate on the relevant businesses for this forum. Summit Power International is the largest IPP and supplies 10% of Bangladesh's electricity. We have divided this business into 2 divisions based on technology: turbine-based combined cycle and reciprocating engines. We have 2 operational combined cycle power plants generating around 700 megawatts, and another 590 megawatt H-class power plant currently under construction. On the reciprocating side of things, we have around 1,200 megawatts in operation. Most of these engines are from Wärtsilä, some from GE, and some from Caterpillar. All these plants use natural gas, and some use HFO. Currently, just Summit's power generation requires about 300 mmcfd of gas. Then we have the Summit LNG, which is the second FSRU in Bangladesh. This started operations in April of 2019 and have been performing very well since. The FSRU is located 7 kilometers offshore from the coast of Maheshkhali in the southern parts of Bangladesh. A subsea pipeline connects the FSRU to the national grid. The FSRU has a storage capacity of 138,000 cubic meters and can regasify 500 mmcfd of LNG daily. This company is also related to the LNG, but rather than in the infrastructure, it's more on the supply side of things. Summit Oil and Shipping is the largest private sector fuel importer in Bangladesh. The company procures and supplies around 1 million tons of HFO to various power plants in Bangladesh. This company has also been shortlisted to supply LNG on spot supply to the government of Bangladesh. Along with 12 other major oil and gas companies, we are also qualified. Summit has a very strong presence in Bangladesh, and we are proud to be a pioneering company. We developed the first IPP in Bangladesh and currently are the leading IPP. We are also the largest private fuel importers and the only Bangladeshi company in the LNG market. All these are a testament to the favorable investment climate, sound policy making, and a dynamic growing market in Bangladesh. The policies in place, especially in the power sector, have enabled the sector to flourish. Like Mr. Chaudhry said before, from having frequent blackouts throughout the day, we now have surplus electricity. The project agreements, the power purchase agreements, the terminal use agreements are all of international standards. Summit has raised over $1 billion in long-term loans from foreign financial institutions, including the Asian Development Bank, the IFC, DEGFMO, CDC, Swissserv, among others. All our customers, as Dr. Chaudhry said, have been extremely good paymasters. We cannot have any complaints against payments or any breach of contracts. It has been a smooth ride for the past 25 years. Now let's have a quick look at the current gas market. Again, as the honorable member from BREC said, the demand is 4,000 mmCFD, and we have local production of 2,700, so that gives a shortfall of 700 mmCFD. If you see the graph on the right from the gas sector master plan of Bangladesh, the production from local gas fields are sharply depleting. This has to be made up with LNG. The Bangladesh power sector, So Bangladesh procured more than 1% of global LNG in 2019 through the 2 long-term contracts with Qatar. That is a very impressive number as discussed by experts. The 2 FSRUs that are currently in place are capable of supplying 1,000 mmCFD of LNG, but currently they're only producing 600 due to delay in gas transmission line construction, followed by lower demands for COVID. So we expect this demand to ramp up as things get normal. We believe there's a big role for LNG to be played in the Bangladesh's development in the next few decades. The power sector alone consumes 60% of natural gas in the country. The power system master plan expects to import 4,000 mmCFD just to fuel power plants in the next 20 years. So 4 times increase just for power. The gas sector master plan also shows that natural gas demand may hit 10,000 mmCFD by 2040 when the local gas fields will be fully depleted. Depending on new gas discoveries, we may expect to import between 45 to 70 million tons per annum if the demand projections are what it seems. We can see that on the right side. That's from the gas sector master plan. It is very encouraging that the government of Bangladesh have taken steps to augment LNG imports. The government is developing a deep sea port in the southeastern parts of Bangladesh in Matarbari. This will enable LNGCs to access onshore terminals. A tender for 1,000 mmCFD onshore LNG terminal is on the horizon. And the government has recently started focusing more on LNG projects rather than coal-based ones. Here are some of the LNG-related projects I'm working on. In the power generation sector, we are working with GE, Mitsubishi Corporation, and the Bangladesh Power Development Board to set up a large power complex in the southern parts of Bangladesh. This is where the LNG import terminals are located. Then we're working on a bid for the onshore LNG terminal that can store and supply another 1,000 mmCFD to the gas grid. Summit is the lead bidder with JERA and Mitsubishi of Japan as equity partners. The bid is expected to be in the middle of next year. We are also negotiating with Petrobangla to supply 2 million tons of LNG on long-term basis. And we are also shortlisted for the Pyra FSRU project in a partnership with Höegh LNG of Norway. Bangladesh is in a good position to enhance its energy supply and security. At the current landed costs, around $7 per MMBTU, LNG is the fossil fuel of choice. For the first time, relatively better environment, affordable and sustainable electricity generation comes hand in hand. To compare to other energy sources, coal power plants need more land, requires maintenance dredging for logistics, and has very negative impact on the environment. This results in similar fuel cost for power generation when all additional infrastructure costs are added to the prices of coal and LNG. Renewables. Unfortunately, Bangladesh is not in an economic position to benefit from the wonders of renewable energy. As we still strive to grow the economy, uninterrupted power is required. The vast land requirement is a major hurdle, as Bangladesh is one of the most densely populated countries in the world, and also has to provision land against floods every year. The geography also restricts any significant wind and hydroelectricity potential. For Bangladesh, again, as Dr. Chaudhry presented, LNG comes with a big upside. The gas transmission grid is already very well placed and connects all of the gas demand centers, since we have been using domestic gas for decades. Considering the realities in Bangladesh, it is evident that it is most reasonable and economic to choose imported LNG as the primary source of fuel. The policymakers can therefore take a long-term view and plan for LNG to be the primary energy of choice, to be imported and utilized in Bangladesh. Thank you very much.